Well, hello there. I couldn't sleep. It's the middle of the night. This has been on my mind. This is about wild horses and burros, so if you want to skip it, I understand. This is going to be a long video because there's a lot of information to get out. I condensed as much as I could, and I'll tell you where I got the information from so you can go read for yourself. I don't think I missed much of it. Let's see. Okay. Okay, my caregiver was here today, and she had never heard of Zenyatta, the racehorse. So I showed her the videos. She was blown away. And she was really impressed by the way that her front legs would kind of prance out when she was in front of a crowd, and just a really neat horse to watch. I had a tooth pulled today, so if I talk a little funny, I apologize. I hope you can understand me. So getting into that, and I'm also joined a group about these Mustangs, and people that own them and stuff. Trying to figure out where I wrote it down at. Oh yeah, I was talking about racehorses, and I was talking about how I just love to watch them run, to see how they truly love to run. I don't believe in forcing animals to do anything, but these particular horses are bred for this. It's in their DNA, so they're not abused. They have care 24/7. So to me, most all horses are beautiful and do deserve the best possible care. The wild horses should stay wild. God made them that way. It's the way I feel about it. They're rounding them up, they're taking them away from their natural habitat. What's the point? So, I wanted to find out before I made an opinion, before I got upset. So, according to, this is a webpage, the Wildlife Informer is the page I visited to see if I could get more information so I wouldn't, hopefully, get all up in my feels. Horses, the Mustangs in the West, the Appaloosas roaming the Great Plains, essential part of the American landscape, says them. They give us a closer look at the history of wild horses in the U.S. They explore 9 states where you can find them. The first one is North Carolina. There's 2 different herds, one on Orcoke Island, and another near the town of Corolla, also on the Outer Banks. The Ocracoke herd is estimated to have descended from Spanish Mustangs brought over by early settlers in the 16th century, while the Currituck population has its origins in colonial-era farming stock. Both are managed by the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, which also works to conserve and protect them. They're protected from developing or disturbance, allowing them to live life of relative peace. Both herds offer an opportunity for visitors to observe and take photos. Have you guys done that? That's something I've always thought about doing. Maybe when I get to traveling, I'll go do that. Number 2 is Maryland, home to Assateague Island, and have been roaming there for hundreds of years. It is believed that their ancestors were survivors of a Spanish galleon that wrecked off the island's shores back in 1590 and released its livestock onto the island. Number 3 is Virginia, home to the counterparts of Maryland's ponies, the Aztec and Chincoteague. There are over 150 horses that inhabit several islands in Virginia's seaside town of Chincoteague. And again, if I'm mispronouncing, I'm sorry. These horses are descendants of Spanish Mustangs brought to the area in the 1600s by explorers. The ponies are rounded up in July of each year for the annual pony penning event, where their health is checked before some are sold at auction. In addition, the Chincoteague Volunteer Fire Department uses funds raised from the annual event to maintain the health and safety of the herd. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, well, this is pretty good. Well, there's always two sides of the story. Keep that in mind. Number 4, Nevada, is home to one of the largest wild horse populations in the U.S. Boasting half of the wild horse population in the western U.S., the horses are protected by the 1971 Wild Free Roaming Horses and Burros Act, which declared them living symbols of the historic and pioneer spirit of the West. Isn't that cool? And prohibited their capture or removal without authorization from federal land. They dwell mainly in the Mojave Desert, the Virginia Range, and the Spring Mountains. The Virginia Range herd is the state's most famous and largest, with around 2,000 horses. Number 5, Arizona. They have been living near the Salt River since before the Tonto Forest was created in the early 1900s. Today, the Wild Horse and Burro program of the Bureau of Land Management, I'm going to call the Bureau of Land Management BLM because that's what I know it as. Okay, the BLM is responsible for managing wild horse population in Arizona. The BLM maintains about 500 wild horses across Arizona's deserts and grasslands. The most popular place to see wild horses in Arizona is the Salt River near Mesa or at recreational sites in the Tonto Forest. 6 is California. About 73,000 wild horses currently roam in this state, with the BLM managing 21 unique herds. Almost half of the wild horses that inhabit Cali, I call California Cali if you didn't know, are found in the West Mojave and East Mojave herd management areas. BLM and National Forest Service manage these herds to maintain healthy habitats for animals and vegetation. Here's where I think it gets kind of sticky. The BLM also ensures that the wild horse populations remain at a manageable level to prevent overgrazing and the destruction of habitats and resources. To this end, the BLM implements some measures including birth control programs for wild mares, adoption events, and relocation activities. That's not all they do. They left the worst thing out, and I think they did it on purpose because another page tells the truth of what they really do. Okay, you're aware. Number 7 is New Mexico. Only has 583 active wild horses and 2 herds. The Bordeaux Atravesado, and the Caracas Mesa herd Caracas Mesa herd appears to be made of horses that are a byproduct of breeding between nearby ranch horses from the Apache reservation. This multicolored horse herd spends its time in mountainous areas of New Mexico. The Bordeaux herd appears to have been around since at least 1950 and also comes in an array of colors. This herd prefers to spend time in the rolling hills of New Mexico. Number 8 is Montana and the Dakotas. It doesn't say and, it says Montana Dakotas. I misspoke. Wild horses in Montana can be found in the Prairie Mountains, home to a colonial Spanish horse herd. The horses have roamed this area for almost 200 years and are known as the Prairie Mountain Mustangs. These horses are an icon of American history and culture, and they remain wild despite encroaching modernity. I never heard modern. They should have said modernization, but they didn't. They have been managed by the BLM Montana Dakotas since 1968, and it is estimated that there are currently around 120 horses living in this area. Number 9, Colorado, is home to 4 distinct horse herds, wow, which are managed by the BLM. These herds include one in the Little Book Cliffs wild horse area, one in the Pheasants East Douglas Herd Management Area, one in Spring Creek Basin, and one in Sandwash Basin. The Spring Creek Basin herd descended from the stolen horses brought in Disappointment Valley in Colorado by a Montana rancher. As this rancher came close to being caught by the law, he left with some, but not all, of his horses. The ones he left behind gave rise to the present-day Spring Creek herd. It's estimated that approximately 95,000 horses and burros roam freely across the U.S., a number that BLM is looking to curtail. That's upsetting to me. For more in-depth information with questions and answers, check out the site, The Wildlife Informer. That's where I got that from. Next, on the American Wild Horse Conservation Site, that's the American Wild Horse Conservation Site, BLM proposes plans to reduce wild horse population, and this was on May 3rd, 2018. So, even though the date is so far back, when I read the future stuff, you'll see it hasn't changed much. The author was an AWHC contributor. They had plans to decrease numbers by 69% over the next 6 to 12 years. Presented the proposal, the BLM presented this proposal. They outlined 4 options aimed at managing the wild horse and burro populations on public lands across 10 western states. If you don't know what BLM land is, it belongs to America. It belongs to its citizens. So, you make your own judgment on that. So, the BLM's report to Congress highlights concerns that the current population exceeds the sustainable capacity of these lands. According to the report, quote unquote, if wild horses and burros population continues to expand, the impacts to animal and plant species will grow more severe across even larger I don't know what word that is they put in there. Anyway, the western public rangelands is what they're saying it's affecting. Ranchers often blame wild horses. Ranchers, okay. You know, ranchers make money off of what? Cattle. Okay? Remember that. So the ranchers are blaming wild horses for environmental degradation, citing issues like trampling streams. I don't know what trampling a stream could do, but I'll have to look it up. And consuming grasses. Well, they gotta eat. I don't get this. It gets weird. Which have led to restrictions on livestock grazing. Oh, there it is. It's about the dollar. Tom Sharp, a rancher and president-elect of the Oregon Cattlemen's Association, stated, quote unquote, when you have degraded lands like that, everyone is affected. He emphasized that the current growth rate of the horse population is unsustainable. Never mind what his herd problems are, right? He's going to blame the wild horses. Sorry, that's how I see it, guys. The BLM's proposal aims to reduce the population from approximately, get your puke bucket ready. Are you ready? 86,000 to an appropriate management level of 26,715 by 2030. That's a lot. And you know how they're going to do it, right? Makes me sick. This would involve methods such as birth control, good. Sterilization, good. Euthanasia, that's what I got a problem with. And sale. However, wild horse advocates argue that the BLM is overstating the issues to prioritize livestock grazing. Yay, there's somebody on my side, right? Whew. Organizations like the American Wild Horse Conservation, formerly known as America Wild Horse Campaign, hope Congress will maintain restrictions against killing or selling wild horses for slaughter. Suzanne Roy, the nonprofit's executive director, expressed confidence that Congress realizes the American people are strongly opposed to killing our iconic wild horses and burros. Much, much more info on that page. Because I wanted to stop there. Something clicking in my brain. Okay, it's a nonprofit to fight for non-killing. So I traced where their money comes from. It comes from us. Public funding, okay? And we're also funding the BLM. What the? Yeah. Funding for nonprofit comes from U.S. public funding. Wild horse roundups cost hundreds of millions for the roundups. Why can't we just let them be? Why do people gotta put fences everywhere and control everything? I don't know. It makes me sick. Okay, on the bright side, there are 77 representatives that are calling for humane wild horse management. In 2025, House Appropriations Legislation Overview, hit and miss, requiring the BLM to spend no less than 10% of the $140 million wild horse and burro program budget. How can you not manage on that money? I don't get it. So, I just get weird. That money is to implement the humane fertility control in at least 5 additional herd management areas. Those are called HMAs. Within 120 days of the bill's passage. The letter also calls for a $100,000 reduction in program funding for each day beyond the 120-day deadline that the BLM fails to commence field implementation of humane fertility control. So if the bill passes, it's supposed to be sterilization, birth control things, no euthanization. No euthanizing. This request seeks increased accountability to address the agency's failure to comply with past congressional directives prescribing an increase in the use of humane fertility control to manage wild horses and burros. They indicate Congress' frustration with the BLM's failure to reform its inhumane and unsustainable wild horse and burro program, said Suzanne Roy, the executive director of the AWHC. So I looked some more and I'm getting sicker. The BLM budget fiscal year 2025, according to Chairman Tiffany, ranking member. Now this is printed under that heading, but it was actually written May 15th of 2024, okay? So her name is Tiffany Neguse, and members of the subcommittee under the Biden-Harris administration, working in partnership with thousands of communities, mostly across the American West and in Alaska. The BLM Land and Minerals contributed so they're taking money off the land with minerals and stuff, an estimated 262 billion to the nation's economic output, supporting approximately 1 million jobs in FY. I didn't look up what FY is. If you know, let me know. In 2022. So in FY, in terms of receipts productive uses of BLM, managed public lands generated more than 9.6 billion, including a significant share for the states where the revenues were generated. So if the BLM land was in your state, you got money. Your state got money. The fiscal year 2025 budget overview. The budget requested $1.6 billion, including $1.4 billion for the management of lands and resources. MLR, I don't know what that meant either, appropriation, and $120.8 million for the Oregon and California grant lands. Well, I've certainly done enough of that reading for now. Time to untangle the webs it put in my brain Hey, this was a long one. Thank you for sticking around and that. But to those interested, it could be just right or not enough. If you missed those sources of information, let me know. Find it in the video, comment, I'll send it to you, comment back to you. I do read the comments. Subscribe. I did say in an earlier video that I wanted to do some reading from the Bible. I'll title them in a way that you'll know what it is, so if you don't want to listen to it, you won't click it for no reason. If you want me to talk about the Mustangs, the BLM lands some more, I'll certainly do that. That is one of the forefronts in my mind, because a lot of the nomads count on using that land, and it is free for us to use. And it is limited to a certain amount of days. Like here in North Dakota, BLM, you can go stay on it for 16 days. And I know like in Quartzsite, Arizona, it's 14 days, so you have to check with your states. And those are all on the Bureau of Land Management website, and they list the states, and you can just find out. There's also some kind of pass you can purchase that allows you to use all of them without having to go through the whole checking in or whatever. I've never done it. I don't know what all it entails. So if you know that, let me know. I'm a sponge for information. So yeah, subscribe, let me know you were here, let me know you stayed the whole video, and let me know what you like. Everything's good, guys. Happy day.